Good morning to you wherever you're watching us from. My name is Bolarinwa and I'm welcoming you to Behind the News on The Nation TV, a program where we analyze, we dissect news, the news in our national dailies. And you know how we do it. I'm not here alone. I'm here with my delectable, my super packed analyst in the house, Mr. Adeyinka Aderibigbe. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, David. It's nice being with you once again. And to all our viewers, we say from here, good morning. Thank you for locking into The Nation TV.
Yeah, thank you very much for always staying with us. It's super packed and a beautiful Tuesday morning we're having our ends. And taking it straight from The Nation newspaper, we have in our headlines, we have funding crisis, improper planning in that census. And you know, the last time we had a census was 2006, and we'll be delving right into that in a moment. In the windows, we have development of bitumen ports, my priority. That's coming from Aida to who was successfully, how would we call it now? It was
his regime was inaugurated
again now for a second time yesterday. And we have the Osun Council workers get conflicting directive. Then the last one we have Osun local government controversy, legal solution to logjam. And then from the Punch, we have Meranda may step down as Akande panel shortlists 7. This is quite shocking. In the windows, we have APC berates El-Rufai for attack on Tinubu Ribadu. Filling stations shut, loading halted as Lagos impounds tankers. And the final one, we have IBB's book, Don't Tarnish Braithwaite's Name. Family wants Obasanjo. And to this day, we have El-Rufai. Tinubu, not National Assembly, rejected my nomination as minister. And to the windows, we have Saudi Agriculture Company to acquire 44.58% stake in Olam Agri for $1.7 billion. And for our last paper, we have the Daily Trust paper, where the headline news says, opponents dissect Tinubu's tax reform bills. And to the windows, we have Customs withdraws 4% import charges. We also have Tinubu to set up committee on census. Taking it to our own paper, the widest circulating newspaper, Mr. Aderibigbe, where we have funding as a funding crisis, you know, improper planning, hinders, consensus that's coming from the president, where you know there was this meeting with the NPC yesterday, and also one of the elder statesmen in the country was also present there, and said, Mr. President said, funding is a major crisis to NPC and conducting census. We know the last time we had a proper census in Nigeria was 2006, and according to the United Nations, it said every 10 years, a country must undergo census. And 2006 to 2025 is way past 10 years. What's your take on this first?
Well, I think, just like you said, it's way past 10 years. We are almost ramping up on the second decade already. Mm-hmm. So Nigeria needs to know how many we are. Economists and researchers have always been banding on projections, which is not valid. You know, Nigeria does not, even as of today, pride itself as a data nation, even though the world is data driven. So we cannot fully comprehend and aver that this number is the number of Nigerians. You know, we just know that we are hovering over 200. Some will tell you we are 250 million. Some will say no, we are just a little over 200 million. You know, so we are hovering over 200. And it's not good for economists, it's not good for researchers, it's not even good for even the foreign direct investors that are in the country. We know of a fact that Nigeria is the largest populated country in Africa, but we don't know about how much, you know. So it will be ideal for Nigeria to organize an indisputable census, even under the current president's watch. Subsequent census have always been held under the watch of president from the northern extraction, which have always been held in some level of contempt. You know, there are even in some circles people who believe, oh, even cattle were counted in some places. There are places that you cannot enter their domains,
due to,
you know, due to their cultures, due to their traditions, due to their belief systems. They just give you the number. And so if you have at this time a president of a different extraction, maybe we'll be able to extricate the trust deficit, and then maybe we'll be able to come near to what we can say is passable, you know, as a desideratum of our actual population, you know. If there is going to be an element of error, it will not, the margin will not be as wide, you know. It is safe to also put it on record that we ought to have had one in 2023, but the factors of the election made it almost impossible to consider even having that at the same time that we are battling with the backlash of the election and the fallout. You know. So with the president produced from that election getting into his second year in a matter of months, I think it is expedient on his part to ensure that within the first term of his presidency, within his first term of tenure, he gives to Nigeria a reliable and a workable and a working population figure. We need it. There's no doubt about that. You know, let's know our numbers and let every sector that needs to work with the numbers begin to work with it. When you know the numbers, like the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that just rebased the economy based on new parameters. When you know the numbers, you easily begin to work with what you need to do. You know, planners, economic planners, you know, financial decisions, even governments that needs to implement at all levels, whether local, whether state, whether federal. We now have more data, a robust data. You know the number of kids, you know the number of babes, you know the number of women, you know the number of males, you know the active youth population, you know the aged, so you know all the parameters that we can be able to build policies that is, you know, data driven, that is focused on those sects and those sectors and those areas, and then we begin to see the impact of government being felt better than just relying on assumptions. Yeah, we can't continue to rely on assumptions and yet feel that government is working. No government could ever work as it's supposed to work without data. And one of the basic data to work with is the census.
Riding on Thank you very much, sir. Riding on your point, the president said something yesterday, and I would like to read the quote. He said, "We must ascertain who we are, how many we are, and how to manage our data. Without an accurate census, we can't successfully plan for employment, agriculture, and food sovereignty. So many problems comes up without accurate data." And you mentioned that quite a lot in your opening remarks. You said we would not be able to plan for so many things if we do not have accurate data. And it's pushing me to ask now, without data, without knowing all of these things, how can the country, how do you foresee we managing all of this crisis?
The fact is we can't manage it. The only thing we'll be getting is to have a failing system, you know. And the Yoruba extraction where I come from used to say, "I nearly kill him." Does not cook any soup. You know. So you can't plan on anything. You can't build on a new foundation. You know, you can't build on nothing. Es nihilo, es nihilo. So you can't, if there's nothing on the basis, on the foundation, you can't begin to dream of putting a mansion when you have not constructed the foundation. The foundation is the census, and Mr. President got it very well. I believe since he has that passion, he knows the essence of it. He's also a numeric person. He is an accountant. So he is in better position and a better place to be able to put it. He finds answers to so many, even our political drives. You know, is Kano bigger than Lagos? Is Lagos bigger than Sokoto? These are questions that are forever, you know, contentious, and it's because we do not have
an accurate
census data. So if the president can give this to us and make sure that at least within, if we can't get it done by the second quarter, let it be done by the fourth quarter, by the third quarter, you know, and let the commission begin to collate its findings and results and give us a temporary figure by fourth quarter. Let us completely end all of everything that relates to our census before we go to 2026. By 2026, the electoral year is already in full blast, and then early 2027 we are going to elections. So let us end everything that can be combustive by 2025. Census is a major thing that is testy in Nigeria, and we can't lump it into 2026. It will be too dangerous to lump it. That was why Buhari was not able to succeed with it in 2023. This government must learn from that and then take precaution and ensure that what needs to be done was done. After all, the Buhari government made an allocation for the MPC in 2023. So there's something to work with already with that commission. The present administration has not disbanded the commission, so they should be able to work with what they were given. And then if there's any need for supplementals, this government could do that, so that we'll sort it out by latest third quarter of the year. And by the time we are wrapping up this year, we'll be having a temporary figure from them that we'll be working with, and then we begin to look at, you know, the final figures. That will take it is better handled this year than throwing it all over again in 2026. That's my view.
All right, we really hope that they will pick all of this and put them into actions, because the president yesterday stated that he would love that they have a lot of biometric capturing, just like we have the INEC, where, you know, your thumbprint and your face, your age, your name, and possibly your state and your local government comes up on the the biometric system, and this is what the president is also urging the MPC to work with. Let there be a stated biometric platform for each citizen. When you want to thumbprint for when you want to vote as for your voting systems in INEC, you thumbprint, your name comes out, and you vote. So also this should be adopted from the MPC. So, and we would be hoping, just like you said, in the third quarter, latest the fourth quarter, we should have a complete census, and let's just know how many we are, because there are a lot of controversies. You know, when researchers and analysts are trying to quote the populations of Nigeria, they just say over 200 million. There's no exact amount of
figure
who we are as a country, and you know, it affects wide a lot of things. The economic system is there, the political system is there, the food systems are also there, and we just hope all of this will come to a downsized moment when the MPC comes out to say this is the exact number we are as a country.
I think where there's a will, there's always a way. And I don't think the problem with Nigeria is about providing funds for the Population Census Commission. I don't think so. So we're already ending the first quarter of the year. March is just around the corner, just about 4 days away. So the first quarter is almost ended, and that's why I feel that anything needed to be done must be accelerated by second quarter. By third quarter, we should do with the census thing, and then the collation and all of that, and the generation of the preliminary figures must come out by fourth quarter. If we plan it that way, we'll be able to have something from the Census Commission this year. And that will demonstrate that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is walking the talk. The president should not be seen as only knowing what is right, but having the political will to also do it.
All right, away from the federal government and back to Lagos State, where a lot of Ahunkrakums have been, into the Lagos State speakership, and all of, from the impeachments to the appointment of Mojisola Meranda, and all the backlash, all the DSS invading, and all of these things. And now we are having it that from the Punch newspaper that Meranda may step down as Akande's panel shortlist 7 people, to decide who and what. I was listening to a discussion this morning where they were saying she might step down because politically the governor is from Lagos. So we want to have someone from Lagos Central, someone from Lagos West, someone. How do you see all of this just planning to play, Mr. How do you see all of this? This is becoming unbecoming. The whole house said this is who we want to be our speaker. And now, just few days after, a panel has been set up again to say, is she truly going to be the leader of the house, or is someone going to come up and she would also be relegated to her former position of being the deputy speaker?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think irrespective of how she emerged, we must always put our eyes on the political calculations. Now, that the president has even accepted at all to cede position and allow for the change of guard is a major shift from what we were having before. Now, should it have dragged to this point? Honestly, it should not. But there are interests, and you cannot divulge the interest from the definition of politics per se. Politics is an agglomeration of interests. You come into politics to advance some certain interest, and people like you can come together to form a group, a bloc that will advance that interest. If it is registered, and if your party is popular, it can win, and then you take that advocacy to some notches higher. And so, in Lagos, there are 3 major senatorial blocks: the East, the West, and the Central. Within these 3 blocks, you have 5 divisional units. And that is why they call Lagos, that is why Lagos regarded them as Ibile, the acronyms, which is Lagos, which is Ikeja, Badagry, Lagos Island, Ikorodu, and Ekpe. We call it Ibile, you know. So, as it is today, the governor is from Lagos Central. The governor is the head of the executive. Now, it is lopsided if the head of the second tier of power, which is legislature, also come from Lagos Central. Because that is the locale of Right Honorable Mojisola Lasbat Meranda. And that was why people or politicians are advocating that, okay, so if you want to impeach the former speaker, who happens to come from Lagos West, then let his replacement come from Lagos West. Fortunately, Meranda, that succeeded him, who was his deputy, came from Central. Now, the matter is even a bit testy because Meranda is a woman.
The first female. The
first female. So it becomes testy because in Lagos House of Assembly today, my checks showed to me that the only other woman in that house is even a first timer. Not only that is a first timer, he's even from the Labour Party. And so there's no way you can even suggest her or recommend her for that position. Meaning that for the first time that a woman will emerge as the head of the second tier of power in Lagos, political equity will now make it almost impossible for her, not because she's not qualified, not because she's not right, not because of any other consideration, but for political equity. So, and that is why the former pro tem chairman of APC had to step in, as Akande. I learned the Yoruba elder statesman Aremo Oshoba was also involved, and a number of other eminent people, you know, to find a middle course in this, because actually now becoming a major issue. So, and that's why we can find a paper like Punch pushing it as a major agenda on their front page. They hardly do that. But because it is, and you can't ignore Lagos when we are talking of Nigeria, and especially that it's a state that produced the president. So, for me, it's going to be a test for APC. I would not advocate that Lagos will jettison the call for balance in apportioning offices, because I want to believe the head of judiciary is of the Lagos East. And so the need to balance is the cause of why a Meranda may have to step down. You know, I learned they have started shortlisting replacements. Perhaps Meranda will be given a higher responsibility, maybe a political appointment that will take her away from the house. You know, so many other considerations are in the offing, but I believe that it's really a decision. Yes, you might say that Mudashiru Obasa, the former speaker, actually overstepped his bounds in so many areas. You might say his scope has actually run over and needs to be replaced, but the choice of who now takes over was not well thought out, you know, by his colleagues, you know, which has now put Lagos in this tight situation where it has to explain and explain and explain, you know. So I believe the state per se and the house will still come up with their own positions. But from the look of things, it looks like for the purpose of balance. The speaker had to again step aside for, you know, the right optics to enable the biggest constituent in Lagos, which is the Lagos West, you know, which is the biggest even in Nigeria, you know, the biggest political constituency in Nigeria, to have a representation as in that house, maybe to be the speaker of the house.
But for those who would be wondering, would this in no way have any dent on you know, the political ambitions of women? Because, you know, we have always been saying women in politics, and now they have the chance of a leadership role, which for one is Lagos State Assembly for a start. Even before they go into the governorship, we saw what happened at with the Adamawa gubernatorial elections, where Finitiri and the other woman, you saw one way or the other, just overnight, big loads of votes came in, and they said she's no longer in the contending race. But now we have a speaker seated, elected or chosen by our colleagues, our contemporaries, and now due to a political stand down or political ulabalu, saying this person is from this person is from this place, and now we have to step down you as a speaker. Does it have any dent on women in politics?
It's not supposed to, and I do not think it will, you know, because to even play your politics, whether man or woman, you must represent a people. You must be from a constituency. And so if your constituency is in conflict with another, common sense will dictate that you must allow for consensus in resolving it. Yes, it has posed a challenge to Lagos, but it is not one that Lagos is not impossible of resolving. I believe and I know that it is not, it's not even going to be a storm in the teacup. It's not even going to be a storm at all. you know. Yes, the optics may seem inappropriate, but it is for the overall good of the state. It's not going to be proper for us at this dispensation, at this age of our democracy, 26 years going, that the state that is the exemplar amongst other colleague states will now find itself bringing two major leaders of government from a particular constituency. Yes, it's not going to sit right. The optics is the bigger picture is worrying, especially when the other constituents that will be left out in the equation is the biggest in the room. You know, you can't ignore Lagos West. Unfortunately so. You know, you can't ignore Lagos West. And so if it is for the sake and for the purpose of ensuring that they also have a representation in government, then it is not going to be out of place to ensure that somebody from there would be made to be speaker. That will not diminish the status of Meranda. She stepped in to stabilize the house. She stepped in to provide leadership. She had provided that leadership. She is in no way going down with her heads bowed. No. But it is for the overall interest of the state. And it is a sacrifice that I believe the state will be calling her to do at this time. I believe that she would have been, you know, propositioned about the need for that even before this committee will step up and begin to consider options. Yes, they must have called her to let her see what is going on so that you don't take her for granted. Yes, I believe it is not about embarrassing her, embarrassing womanhood, embarrassing women's contribution in politics. No, it is all about ensuring balance. And I believe that she will not be thrown into the ocean, you know, of nothingness by this development. They must accommodate her and ensure that, yes, indeed, it was a sacrifice that she had to give. Because if she said no, there's nothing they could do, except if the House did not agree with her. So the handwriting and the reading is that she is not ready to upturn the apple cart. So that kind of person must be seen to be a promoter of peace. And then what you need to do is to ensure that you do all in your power to preserve her in the eye of those who might come after her to say she is a jellyfish. She should not have done this, because there will always be those kind of tendencies.
Definitely.
But really, it's a sacrifice for the continuation and for the integrity of democracy in Lagos State.
All right, we hope that peace returns to the Lagos State House of Assembly, and in all that matters, let peace reign. Just in our final notes, the friend of the nation, one of the person who always wants to speak his mind out, whichever way, either in power or not in power, Malam El-Rufai was on one of the national TVs yesterday, and he made a comment which, one way or the other, has, you know, thrown a little uptown into the state of political arrangement. He said President Tinubu, in fact, was the one who rejected his nomination as a minister and not the Senate. This has, you know, grown a lot of controversies. That the president nominated you for a fact. We all know that. And prior to now, the news was that the Senate rejected you. But you went on air to say, no, it's the opposite. The president who nominated me rejected me, not the Senate. And I was watching yesterday where he said he probably thinks the president changed his mind and rejected him. What do you have to say, even as we close?
Well, I do not think that we should give El-Rufai, His Excellency Nasir El-Rufai, too much of air regarding that. The fact is that he was rejected by the National Assembly. Okay, yes, maybe the president could have, at the back end, made a case when he was rejected. Maybe that's what he was saying. But the fact remains that he was turned down by the National Assembly. Nigerians do not need to know the details of that rejection. We have since gone beyond that level. We are at the level of governance now. Who wants to serve will serve, regardless of whether he is given an office or not. In fact, the office of the citizen is the biggest office in the land. And that is the office to which all of us are called. You can serve this country without waiting to be a minister, without waiting to be a councillor, without waiting to be a local government chairman, not even waiting to be a governor, not waiting to be an ambassador. You can serve as an ordinary citizen using your own influence to create a better Nigeria that you desire. You know, so now that Malam El-Rufai has become an ordinary Nigerian, yes, a political leader, yes, a former governor, but all of that are just in the level of, you know, political appropriateness. What he is now, shorn of all of those titles, is that he is a Nigerian. And so, as a Nigerian, what are his visions? What are his dreams? What did he want for Nigeria? Are they within his powers to do? Are they within, you know, his prison of influence? Can he do anything regarding how he wanted Nigeria to be? Those are the challenges before each and all of us. What can we do in our own scope and in our own sphere, in our own space, to make Nigeria a little better than what it is now? That is the challenge before all of us, and that is what I think that I will throw back at him, not to be telling us something that happened to the pig's head. Something will always happen to the pig's head, you know. What is important is, what are you doing about the place that the country is right now? Can we be better? Can you do something about it? Is it within your powers? Those are the process to which he should find an answer. And when he finds the answer, let him apply himself to it.
All right, the word of Mr. Aderibigbe to every Nigerian citizen is, whether you're in power or you're not in power, just do your best as a Nigerian citizen. And with that, we leave you. Here we come to the end of the show. Thank you, Mr. Aderibigbe, for making yourself available for today's show. And from me to you, please stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for watching. Please keep it locked to television, the Nation Television. Thanks and bye for now.